Leaders at this summit have also had a chance to review the performance of the New Development Bank, also referred to as the BRICS Bank. Uche Okoronko has a review of the bank's investments and projects with BRICS nations.
When Dilma Rousseff assumed the helm of the BRICS Development Bank in March this year, she pledged to continue its goal of mobilizing resources for infrastructure development and sustainable development projects, as well as addressing social inequalities and curbing climate change, not just in BRICS nations, but in other emerging and developing economies as well. And indeed, the bank has come a long way in achieving this goal.
In 2013 in Durban, this BRICS Bank really came up as a brand new, spectacular idea and was a contingent reserve arrangement, an alternative to the IMF. It never got up and running. 2014, we saw the beginning of the details in Fortaleza, Brazil. And in 2015-16, finally the launch. But we've even seen in 2018 a BRICS Bank branch here in Johannesburg.
In 9 years, the bank has lent $33 billion to more than 96 projects in the 5 founding member nations. It has expanded its membership to include the United Arab Emirates, Egypt, Uruguay, and Bangladesh. The bank has evolved from a startup to a major financier of development solutions, ranging from investments in clean energy, urban mobility, to social and digital infrastructure. Well, this year, it returned to international capital markets, issuing a 3-year benchmark green bond worth about $1.25 billion. It also issued 8.5 billion renminbi worth of panda bonds, just about $1.23 billion, in China's interbank bond market.
Now, the new BRICS Bank members are only buying a very small share. And it's interesting, the top 5 original BRICS members include one, Russia, now holding about 18% of the BRICS Bank, which is under sanctions by the BRICS Bank. So unfortunately, we again don't see the BRICS Bank breaking from international orthodoxy, but adapting to it. They obviously care about their credit rating. It was downgraded last year because of a large Russian portfolio, and that will affect Dilma Rousseff's future. She just announced the financial sanctions against Russia will continue. The BRICS Bank operates in a world financial community. It's not really breaking from its part of. It's not anti-imperialist finance, it's sub-imperialist. And you know what that means is when you get terrible eruptions of financial chaos in the world economy, like we saw in 2008-9, and that we saw in 2020 with the COVID crisis, or even that we began to see this year when several huge banks in the US and even in Switzerland went under, and when we have a rising interest rate, which puts pressure on all borrowers everywhere, we would want the BRICS Bank to stand out as something different, the way Hugo Chavez in Venezuela envisaged a Bank of the South. But the orthodoxy in our central banks and finance ministries in all the BRICS countries prevent us from moving quickly. And that's why the de-dollarization is a wonderful aspiration. We all need a de-dollarized economy that the US Federal Reserve has massively abused.
Now, China's issuance of the panda bonds this year does emphasize another key goal of Rousseff's, which is expanding projects financed in local currencies and increasing BRICS currency loans to 30% by 2030. It is a goal the bank has struggled to achieve as it tries to wean itself off its dollar dependency and looks to boost much sought-after local currency fundraising and lending.
The bank's operating currency is in dollars for a very specific reason. The US dollars is where the largest pools of liquidity reside in the world. So if you want to tap into institutional investor money by issuing bonds in international debt capital markets, you do so in dollars. So we have raised since 2020, after we obtained our international credit rating of AA+, we have raised considerable amounts of money through the issuing of dollar-denominated debt.
Well, looking ahead, the bank says that it plans to provide $30 billion in funding over the next 5 years, as well as expand its operations with the private sector and direct 40% of its approvals to climate change mitigation and adaptation. It is also in talks with another deep-pocketed shareholder, Saudi Arabia, on admitting the nation as its latest member, a move that would help strengthen the NDB's funding options. Now, critics of BRICS say that the bank has a number of inter- and intra-geopolitical tensions and domestic factors that could impact cohesion within the bloc and the NDB in the coming years. Notably, a number of some of the current and potential members are currently facing significant internal concerns, such as unstable economies and diplomatic isolation. Then, there is the different levels of economic development and rivalries.
Unfortunately, the BRICS Bank is operating in a terrain that is quite unstable, and that means that if it is making major loans and investments, especially where currencies are extremely volatile, it has to be careful. And that's why a move towards much more local investments instead of foreign currency investments is actually smart, because the currencies like the South African rand periodically crash. We've gone from 15 to nearly 19 rand to the dollar in just the past year, and I suspect it'll go further as the commodity prices continue to decline.
Rousseff says that the NDB is also looking to work more closely with other multilateral and national banks. It is also examining alternative instruments and currencies to bring in more resources, as it inches closer towards fulfilling that promise of pursuing a more equitable world order. Ujeo Koronkwo, CGTN, Africa.